Welcome to another broadcast of Philosophic Perspectives with Arthur D. Schwartz on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. All past shows are available as free podcast downloads. Visit ArtistFirst.com. Out to your host, it's Arthur D. Schwartz.
Hello. Welcome again to another edition of Philosophic Perspectives. It's really a delight today because we have a special guest who's written a book about past lives. And it's more than just a book about past lives. It's really very entertaining, fast-moving, and extremely well-written. And so I was just wondering, this whole question about past lives is something that I personally have gotten into over the past, I would say, 10 years in my own work. But and before that, I was not too. I would call myself a skeptic. In fact, I know I was. I'm thinking back in conversations I've had, and as things have moved along, in the years have passed, I've found myself getting more and more, becoming more and more a believer, or someone who is certainly open to this kind of thinking. And I will say something else about moving through time and getting into it more. That actually is reflected in this book that we're going to talk about today with my special guest, Jacklyn A. And the book is one of those reads that just begins to you get more immersed in it with every chapter. You know, in the first opening chapters, it's really an epic. It just sort of traverses history, and it's very epic. But with each chapter, you become more intimately involved in the evolving story. So I really enjoyed it, and that's why I'm so delighted to have Jacklyn as my guest tonight. And so I'd like to introduce her now. And Jacklyn, why don't you just tell me about this book and how it came to be?
Yes, hi. Thank you for inviting me to this radio show. It's a big pleasure for me to be in here. Could you kindly repeat me your question, please?
Sure. So I was wondering, how did it come about? How did this book come about? How did you get to the point where you wrote this book? What motivated you, and where did the idea come from?
Yeah, that is a very good question. This is also the question what I am wondering when I'm reading somebody's books. So because it's interesting how the idea was born, and what is motivation of the writer, author, for making this book. So when I was a little girl, I was my very big intention to go to school was to learn reading, because I wanted to read as many books as possible. But before this redemption novel, I actually never wrote anything. I didn't write even short story. But this novel is pretty long, and from my perspective, it's multi-layered from their complexity. So, but I remember your question, and I'm coming just slowly to answer this. So basically, to get all this novel done, it's on a way certain magic for me, and this magic happened as I'm observing myself from the side. It happened because I put a goal for myself. I put a goal for myself to create a certain ambitious project. This and when I set up this goal to make ambitious project, I got idea to make a feature movie. So original idea was not about a novel, but about a feature movie, because on my eye it was very ambitious goal to go to film industry where I never been before and so on. So, but somehow this idea was pretty much activated me positively, and I have started to write. In the beginning, I have started to write a script, feature movie script. But because of the complexity of the story, of the metaphysical issues which I was describing in the story, I was getting advice to write a novel, and I'm very happy that I followed that advice, because now it's kind of what I call for myself. It's a piece of art. This novel Redemption, piece of art where several very deep metaphysical issues allocated. So, but on another hand, as I said, it's a multi-layered novel. So basically, anyone with any level of the consciousness could read and enjoy this as an entertainment novel. This was also my intention to make the book which would entertain people, not only this kind of let's say very serious things like what you have to do or what you shouldn't do, but something as a story. About it's not a real person. It's from my imagination, and she lives in 2045. But still, it's a person. It's a story, and she is also experiencing 4 other stories as her 4 past lives. So I don't know if I answered on your question or. I
think there are many ways to answer that question, but that's very interesting. I would like to ask you though, have you always been interested in spirituality or metaphysics, however you like to describe it, or is this something that occurred?
I like this question. Basically, I would say that up to a certain level, up to a certain age, I haven't been thinking about too much about spiritual things or God. I mean, it was probably at kind of very general level, when we listen a story from grandma, or when we watch a movie where something involved, like supernatural or something, or if it's somebody started to talk about this kind of things, then you are thinking about also or somehow involved in that. But I would say that probably up to 18, 19, I haven't been thinking about spiritual things at all. And I haven't been visited any church or participating to any religious organizations or anything like this. So that probably the next question would be, what happened in the age of 18 or 19. Do you want to hear my answer?
Yeah.
So at this at certain moment in my life, when I was about this age, I was getting a solution to the problem which has been bothering me for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. It was a problem which I was trying to solve by myself, trying this every day, every week, and so on. But I was basically staying at the same level until one day I got basically solution for this problem. Mm-hmm. So amazing thing was that solution was not belonging to my logic.
I see.
It was basically against of my personal logic, and I was surprised that how this thought came in my mind. Mm-hmm. So I was the most kind of surprising thing for me that this solution was workable. So in other words, that even it was against of my logic, I went for the risk. Mm-hmm. I took risk and I tried this solution, mm-hmm. and it was working.
It worked.
Yes, it was working, and the problem which I have been struggling for 2-3 years, it just was solving as a click on a way.
Right.
So,
yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I will continue. And after that, I was like trying to figure out what this could be. I mean, how this thought, that idea, that solution dropped in my head. Mm-hmm. So, and I was like trying to ask and find people who would answer me on this question. But the wisest reply what I got was that it's intuition. It's my intuition, and which is belonging to anyone. So, and this intuition was helping me. But somehow I was having doubts about this.
Right.
So I was having doubts because somehow I was like trying to see on a logic, on intuition, and what is like definition of those. And none of these definitions was not like precisely fitting to that experience what I forgot. Mm-hmm. So, and what happened later, that I was started to search for books, not for people, but I started to search for the books which would answer me on this question. Mm-hmm. And it had been taken long. It has been taken, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe 15, mm-hmm. Until I said to myself, now I know what is that.
I see.
So, but from the age 18, 19, I started to be involved in this kind of what we can call spiritual awareness, or like like by myself starting to figure out beyond of our physical existence, or what we are calling physical reality,
right?
And dedicated logic or intuition. Intuition, of course, it's like higher thing comparing with logic, but Yes, and I'm happy that I was, having courage and dedicating my time and my energy to this kind of search.
Yeah, that story, I think, in many ways is emblematic of, indicative or symbolic, let's say, of what your work, or at least in terms of the book, your recent book, Redemption. And it's true. Many times, the intuition or these thoughts that seem to come from nowhere, there's often a connection made, between those who study these things, the paranormal, parapsychology, spiritual realm, whatever you want to call it, it kind of merges with what we call intuition, or the the right brain, the creative mind, where we defy logic or definition and structure, and so I think that's where the spiritual realm, that's where the creative realm, that's where the intuitive realm exists, that transcends very tight logical structures and definitional barriers, and so I think that's actually something that there's some evidence for that, actually. And the other thing about it is, I just love the way that you were just also using that to just follow your heart, just to have the courage and to follow your dream, and then to make that a reality. I think is what you're saying, and that is also, I think, part of the underlying theme of your book, is it not?
You mean that, like,
following, in terms of your character, your Anne, which is your heroine, I guess, your protagonist, and she followed, through all her incarnations, she followed her inner spirit, and isn't that an underlying theme of the book, would you say? Concerning Anne's journey, her metaphysical journey. It's Anne, right? Anne is the protagonist, right?
Did you mention Helen name, or I just
no? But the woman from 2045. What is her name? Anne.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Anne. Mm-hmm. And so she's the woman of the current life, let's say, and then so Helen and the other people were. We're going a little, we're jumping out a little bit, but those are part of her various incarnations. Helen is one of her incarnations, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it's a good comparison. Yes. So Anne is also in the beginning is atheistic. She's not even thinking about God. But
right.
But then when I like to use their expression, her life script. When the right moment came, and she was pushed by this, let's say, nightmares.
Right.
So she started investigations.
Right.
She didn't want to just to drop this, or just to give up to think about this, and she's spending pretty much time, and she's making pretty big effort to investigate what is this. That's why she's going to psychic 4 times to check out actually her background, what is actually what she is. And what are those her past lives about?
Right.
Yeah. So,
right. Well, I have a question here. Also, I mean to ask you: is there any significance? The novel opens up in the year 2045, and I should tell the audience that this is a very interesting, as Jackie says, it's a multi-layered book because it involves spirituality, but also technology. It's also a romantic novel as well, and. But it opened up in 2045, and I was just wondering, is 2045 a special year, or is it just something you came up with? Is there any particular reason for that?
No, this year just I was making a brainstorming with one friend of mine, and he dropped me this number, and I liked it. So I just picked it up from our brainstorming session, and that's it.
Oh, I see. No, the reason I asked because I'm also doing some work with with the group I organize on the singularity, a book by Ray Kurzweil, and I noticed that he picks 2045 as the point where he predicts the singularity, which is, without going into detail, just the point in which our technology reaches a kind of critical mass, in which where we kind of our human evolution, you might say, goes to another level, just without getting into too much detail. And so he picked 2045, and I realized, I'm reading that book at the same time I'm reading yours, and I noticed a coincidence.
Yeah.
Because, but your book is an interesting, a kind of merger with some technological themes, and spirituality, which I find extremely interesting as well.
Yeah.
And did you have anything to say about that? What do you mean? What do you see any particular connection with spirituality and technology?
Well, yeah, actually, yes, it's a good point. Well, I mean, this is not described in detail in this novel, Redemption, but my personal opinion that technology is has been developed so fast, and it's definitely having influence on the people, on our speed, actually. So we are becoming much more faster than before. We are developing ourselves much more faster than before. And, if you think that their mobile or cellular telephony is existing only, let's say, probably not more than 20 years. No, it's even less. It's even like 15 years ago we got the first cellular phone, about, let's say.
Right.
From 15 years ago. So, but nowadays it's like a portable computer in our palm, and we are, we don't need any, psychic to see to tell us what is going on. We are just pushing the button and then see what Google, which result will give us. Google, but well, I mean, from information point of view. And the technology is definitely affecting us pretty much because it's affecting our development, our potential, and this is, as I see, this is a boosting us, human race. It's a boosting, and my personal feelings is that I use the phrase upgrade, but I know that for some people it would be shocking to hear upgrade when I'm talking about human race, But what I feel, not by logic, not by intuition, but by senses, that the upgrade is coming, and which means that for some people with their sophisticated consciousness, it will be, the same result as what happened with my protagonist in the novel Redemption.
Right. Right.
Final chapter.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, and it is fascinating. There is definitely a kind of ironic convergence, I think, between technology and spiritual development, and it's ironic because some of the people, some scientists on the technology side probably wouldn't look at it that way, but I do feel there is a convergence. So we're going to take a short break at this point, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
In Ethical Empowerment, Virtue Beyond the Paradigms, Arthur D. Schwartz presents an ethical theory that is a framework for evaluating moral conundrums that go beyond legalistic rulemaking, dogmatism, and preconditioned thinking. The book is as much an ethical framework for unconventional ideas as it is for staying with convention. Ethical Empowerment is a manifesto of non-doctrinaire perspective. Ultimately, the hypnotic thinking of ideology and dogmatism can only be overcome by returning to the true source and essence of morality, which is nothing less than universal love. Discover how the philosophically liberating approach of the ethical empowerment can be applied to the range of ethical, social, and political controversy. Read about a plan to eliminate all political parties. Entertain the possibility of an overhaul of the patent system and its replacement with a system that rewards inventors while eliminating monopolistic control of patents and technological suppression. Many other transformative ideas are discussed in the book, including issues related to the monetary system, real estate, scientific paradigms, and a rational approach to conspiracy theory. While ethical empowerment will challenge your mind to consider new perspectives, the ethical challenge is always to keep the diversity, depth, and breadth of perspective within the boundaries of love. Ethical Empowerment is available at Amazon.com and most online booksellers in both print and e-book editions. You are listening to Philosophic Perspectives on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. Now back to your host, Arthur D. Schwartz.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So I'm talking with Jacklyn A, the author of Redemption, a book that I enjoyed immensely. It's available on Amazon.com. I think I'll let Jackie in a little while talk to you more about where you can get it. So, I happen to know that she just completed what I would call a world tour promoting her book, and she's been basically around the world, I think. So it sounds quite interesting to me. I think it might be fun to hear about this for a few minutes. So, Jackie, why don't you tell us what you've been doing the last few weeks?
Yeah, well, it's definitely not a world tour, but it's a tour through 4 continents. 4 continents in 2 months and 10 days. So I'm covering by traveling Europe. Well, I mean, just one country of the Europe, but still it's a continent. Then I moved to South Africa, Morocco, very exotic country. Then I made pretty long flight to United States, and now I'm in California, in Los Angeles. And then in a couple of days, I'm going to have flight to Ecuador. So the first destination, Quito, and then I'm going to travel in Ecuador about 2.5 weeks and moving to Peru. So this will be my 4th continent. the South.
Sounds like a war one to me.
South America. Okay, yeah, it depends. Some people who are living in one place, and there are some people who are living the whole life in one place, and actually they are not willing to travel or move anywhere. But I feel pretty good like energy level when I'm traveling, and I'm also like refreshing myself. New ideas are coming, and I'm feeling great from the traveling experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it sounds really exciting. And you've been talking about your book in these different places in different venues, right? Different. Where would you go? You go to bookstores, or is it that most of that? Is there media involved in terms of promoting your book?
Well, I am just spreading the word to people around, and in LA, I'm meeting professionals from film industry, and I'm also talking about not only about redemption, but also about my newer project, what I called horror romance, Return of Melissa. But definitely redemption is something what I'm really glad not only to talk, but also would be happy to make a feature movie. What is my original dream?
Yes, yeah. I've only read so far Redemption, but I can definitely see that as a film. It's an epic. Folks. I mean, it really is exciting. And I tell you something. You have one heck of a creative imagination. I was so drawn into the characters. You went through various stages of history in ancient Rome and the France of Louis XIV, in World War II, and it was just an amazing thing. And I was so drawn into it, and I think I mentioned to you in an email that toward the end of the book, I actually found my eyes welling up with tears. I was so drawn into it. So you really did it. It's really a great job, and a really fun read. In addition to that, it also has a profound underpinning, in which I latched on to this term I think you created. I haven't heard it before, called the highest intangible values. And the book is actually structured around those values. Each part has one of those values, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think the first one would be freedom, and then from that you would go that's love, and then the next is courage, and peace, and I think finally hope. I think is it 5 values or 4?
Yes, this values are just fantastic values, and I just was today thinking how I got this kind of fascinating imagination, and I cannot answer on this question. It's just probably what people are calling imagination, like creativity and something like this, because those values didn't come from my logic. So they just came from somewhere, of my head, or from somewhere. But I was capable to make a story out of this. So, like you said, that each chapter has own name of this highest intangible value, but the fact is that the each past life of Anne was dedicated to this particular value.
Right.
This basically the most basically difficult part, but I did it very well,
Right. Well, I think so. I mean, it's an interesting. I mean, it's organized in a very interesting way because part one is freedom, and so for example. Just to give a sense of that, let's talk about just part one and the intangible value. I mean, you don't. I think you only introduced that term at the end of the book, but retrospectively, I mean, when you get to the end, I see. When it came up, I won't give it away, but when the term intangible values is introduced in the book near the end of the book, then of course the structure of the book, as it's laid out in the contents. It's how many parts? It's 5 parts, right? I believe. Is it 5 parts or 4 parts? I guess maybe it's only 4 parts.
Yeah.
4 parts. But when when you introduce that term, then of course you see, this whole book is structured on those highest intangible values, and so I wonder if, without giving anything away, for example, in part one, it's freedom.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just give us an insight in how the highest intangible value of freedom is concretely manifested or expressed, by your fictional work, by what happened, in the first part, without giving the story away, but to exemplify what freedom is, because I think highest intangible value. I mean, that's just the thing; it's intangible, so it's an abstract thing, but of course it's expressed in a concrete, real situation. Right. So in part one, why don't you, if you can, if you can do it, explain, how freedom, for example, is expressed in the first part one of the book.
Yeah. How freedom is expressed.
Yes.
You're asking. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you asked about this, but I will try to answer how I understood. So in the first part, let me think. In the first part, the heroine, it's also a woman. She's basically facing that kind of external threat, and she had only 2 options. She was having in her life. She came to the point that she had only 2 options: where to go for the man who was basically considered her or would make her a slave of him, or she would figure out other way. So basically, to be a free woman. So yeah. So and the first step of her was to get this freedom. Was to escape from her local tribe. So she left the home because she was it was very hot. She left her son in that tribe, and because she was too small to take with, and so this was her first intention, that internally she felt very high resistance against slavery. So, but then it happened that she met that man again, and it wasn't possible anymore to escape from him, and the only way was basically to end her life.
Right.
So in a way that if she would stay alive, she would become the enemy of her would own her. So, and by owning her, he would make her a slave, which were and the slavery was not something what that woman wants to experience, and she prefer to give away or sacrifice her life for this high intangible value, what we are calling freedom, because slavery is opposite of the freedom. So she went for freedom.
Right. Yes. Yes. And so in this particular case, the highest intangible value of freedom means, she expressed that by giving her life. In that case, giving her life was the expression of freedom.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. And that. Yeah. I mean, of course, without giving all the particulars away, this was the Stone Age. These were Stone Age tribes, right?
Yeah.
And it was a very you set the tone in that opening part, and just as the novel progresses and you go into different epochs, different ages, those different values are expressed in their own unique way. Again, once again, the next one would be love. Then you have courage, peace. And hope is one of your intangible values too. Is that correct? Hope.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's. I mean, I just think that was so beautiful, and it really was. So, I commend you on that. Jackie, where can people find your book?
Well, the book, of course, Amazon.com. So there are two options to buy a book in e-form, in Kindle book. So which means you will get an e-book, which is relatively non-expensive, and actually for Mother's Day, which is coming in a couple of days, there is a discount running. So now it's the book e-book available only for less than $99. So
pretty good deal.
Very very affordable present for any mom. It's entertaining supernatural romance. We can also call it romance. It's actually 5 romances in one book. So which normally moms, I think all moms would love to read. And then another option is printed format. Via Create Space, it's possible to order. Through Amazon.com. But of course, the price of printed format is higher. It's costing more than an electronic version of the book. But also in Smash Words is available, and in Google. Google, also this book could be found, and this is the main probably sources. But Amazon still like pretty much like leader among of others. So readers could find more reviews if someone interested to read the opinions of others, and so it's available. Yeah, it's available.
Right. It's also available in paperback too, isn't it? You have a print version as well, don't you? It's didn't I read that? That's available in paperback as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes. We're going to take one more short break, and we'll be back just in a couple minutes.
Good.
Are you a person who enjoys intellectual social interaction and finds digging deeper into the nature of things, from big issues to everyday life, an important part of the pleasure of life? Social Philosophizers is a Boston area social club for those who desire intellectual socializing. It's a club for both singles and non-singles, and for anyone who finds intellectually mingling to be the best form of social mingling. The club offers a variety of interesting venues such as philosophical get-togethers in private venues, book discussions concerning literature and philosophy, topical discussions over brunch or dinner, guest speakers, theater, after-work mixers, even long philosophical ruminations along nature trails or city streets, and more. If you live in the greater Boston area or occasionally spend time in the area, you can choose a cost-effective membership level that's right for you. Basic membership is free. Find the link on Arthur's Philosophical Perspectives show page at ArtistFirst.com or just search SocialPhilosophizers.com. We hope you'll join Social Philosophizers today. That's SocialPhilosophizers.com. You are listening to Philosophic Perspectives on the ArtistFirst Radio Network. No one ever misses a show on this network. They're all available as podcast downloads, absolutely free. Visit the archive sections at ArtistFirst.com. Back to your host, Arthur D. Schwartz.
Hello. So, I have to ask Jackie, we're back here speaking with Jacklyn A. the author of Redemption, a novel recently published. We've been talking about, and it deals with past lives, it deals with high technology, it deals with, it's a good romantic novel, it's an action novel, you got it all there. And but I have to ask Jackie, now, do you feel that, have you had any past life memories, any past life experiences, or simply do some of the themes in your book, which I strongly felt when I was reading it, which is common for a lot of fiction writers, are some of the characters, kind of an expression of, are you projecting your own person into them, to some degree? That, or have you had your own past life memories, or do you think you've lived in the past, that you have past lives, for example?
You asked me this kind of package of the questions. So let's start from the number one.
Okay.
So what would be like if I believe, or how you would say that if I have been experiencing past lives in my dreams or something, or how?
Yeah. I mean, I admit I kind of threw a lot in there. There's various ways of looking at it, but do you have you had what you consider past life experiences? Have you ever had a past life regression, or have you have had flashes that tell you that you sense that you've had a past life or past lives, or not? I mean, a lot of people would say no. I was just wondering, because your book seems so vivid and so real, I was just wondering if you've actually had them yourself.
Yeah. By myself, I haven't been experiencing anything what I described in the book. Mm-hmm. Like Anne was having such kind of visions in the trance. Mm-hmm. But the reincarnation concept for me looks very, very logical. Mm-hmm. And pretty much fascinating. But I had such kind of pretty negative experience sometimes, where I was observing a similar spiral which is coming to the Anne's dream. And this spiral was representing all my existence. So, so on a way, I have been experiencing on consciousness level the things which Anne was experiencing in unconsciousness level when she was sleeping. But I never have been traveled into my past lives. So, this past lives stories came to my mind just as an expression of the showing that we are not only one life existence. We are much larger and much complex creatures than like in average life, a physical life we are thinking of. So, did I answer on your question?
Oh, yeah, you did a very good job answering my question, considering the fact that my question was kind of convoluted and chopped up. So you did fine. I just lost my train of thought here, but do you think? Well, let me put it this way: the whole thing about reincarnation appeals to me because it is about a progression of consciousness, the evolution of consciousness, the idea that we are bettering ourselves as both as individuals and collectively as a species, as the greater society and as the human species, really, or even beyond that, just as consciousness that goes out, beyond this planet, beyond the solar system or this galaxy. It's just consciousness. And so that's what really appeals to me about reincarnation, because in some way I think it's true. It may not be exactly as been conceived. Nothing ever is, but the idea that this universe of ours is evolving, and we're all part of it, and so. That's the way I look at that. And, of course, in your book, I mean, we must, since we're nearing the end of the show, we should really come back to the title, Redemption. So in terms of this idea of evolution, of self-correction, that really does go right into the notion of, let's call it redemption, which is the title, but I think also in your book you allude to its connection. I'm not sure, maybe it's identical or maybe it's just related to, but redemption, heaven, and nirvana. I think, I'm not sure if you mean they're the same. But I know you did use those terms, and so how do you feel about that? Being basically the end game, so to speak, for one soul's journey. The end game, redemption, nirvana, heaven.
So, how to start? From which point to start? So basically for me, it's pretty much clear that our final destination is to get rid of physical world as our attachment.
Right.
So basically, we are pretty much addicted to the physical things and physical world. But the problem with the physical world is that it's a very high risk environment for our soul, not only for our physical existence, but also for our soul. So my personal perception of the our spiritual existence is that we can lose our soul. We can lose our property. So this is pretty much contradiction. This is pretty much opposite to the Christian belief that Jesus Christ has been sent for the purpose of giving us immortality, like spiritual immortality. Mm-hmm. But personally, I don't feel so. So in my understanding, all people supposed to think about their best to move from their physical world to their more or less risky environment, which is basically heaven.
Right. Well, that's I have to jump in here because it's unfortunately we have to begin to conclude the night's broadcast. But I thought that redemption and nirvana would be an appropriate point to stop. And I do want to just thank you very, very much, Jacklyn A. Lowe, who is the author of Redemption, available on Amazon and other booksellers. And I really enjoyed having you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and I hope you come again. Now, this concludes tonight's broadcast. For links to my book, Ethical Empowerment, my philosophical counseling and hypnotherapy practice, and the Social Philosophizers Club, please visit arthurdschwartz.com. And this is Arthur D. Schwartz reminding you to live well and think deeply. Until next time, good night, everybody.
This is George Thorogood of the Destroyers, and you're listening to ArtistFirst Radio.
Are you a person who enjoys intellectual social interaction and finds digging deeper into the nature of things, from big issues to everyday life, an important part of the pleasure of life? Social Philosophizers is a Boston area social club for those who desire intellectual socializing. It's a club for both singles and non-singles, and for anyone who finds intellectually mingling to be the best form of social mingling. The club offers a variety of interesting venues such as philosophical get-togethers in private venues, book discussions concerning literature and philosophy, topical discussions over brunch or dinner, guest speakers, theater, after-work mixers, even long philosophical ruminations along nature trails or city streets, and more. If you live in the greater Boston area or occasionally spend time in the area, you can choose a cost-effective membership level that's right for you. Basic membership is free. Find the link on Arthur's Philosophical Perspectives show page at ArtistFirst.com or just search socialphilosophizers.com. We hope you'll join Social